Who's willing to testify that 2017 was a rocky year? Escalating rhetoric between North Korea and the US has heightened global tensions, while hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, terrorism, civil unrest, just to name a few, has impacted millions of individual lives. That's actually what I want to talk about. With all that's going on, I decided to forego the usual setup and share a story because honestly, the amount of information and the rate of its exchange has accelerated to the point where it's impossible to keep up with everything, and we're likely missing the point if that's what we're trying to do. But while I was working, I met a gentleman who had relatively recently transitioned to California from Puerto Rico. After some polite inquiry, he voluntarily shared the move took place right before Hurricane Irma and Maria devastated the Caribbean. Now, before I go on and tell you what this individual told me, he wasn't conservative and he didn't sugarcoat what he was saying. So take this next part with a grain of salt if you have to. Just know that his line of thinking isn't entirely out of touch with others both within the US and without. We may have our own way of articulating it, but generally we suss there's something about to change form in this world, even if it hasn't fully saturated the minds of the collective human consciousness. Personally, I think it's important to stay open-minded to this sort of thing because it may become or bear some relevance in the future. With that out of the way, he went on to tell me that he thinks that the US is run by Satanists and Luciferians, people who have dedicated themselves to the dark side, so to speak. That whether psychology, medicine, entertainment, pretty much anything you can name that has monetary wealth behind it or a network of dubious individuals, that there's some form of underhanded spiritual wickedness. And that this spiritual wickedness is able to enact its agenda through willing participants. Those willing participants being our leaders, our elites, people who we think generally have the people's interest at heart. Now, this gentleman wasn't bashing any particular political party, any individual, which I thought was very upright of him. Now, perhaps he was just mirroring my energy, but we didn't go down the path of individually attacking somebody's person or character. For example, we didn't make this a discussion about Donald Trump, and we didn't see the need to besmirch the character of another person to get our point across. This individual relayed his message very composed, very intelligently. I think in a lot of ways we've been conditioned to believe that we can't talk about this stuff unless we subscribe to a certain belief system. I think that that inherently is wrong and sort of stymies legitimate investigation into esoteric topics like this. Let's just think about the possible ramifications if something like this were true. We know tangibly and anecdotally that secret societies, for example, exist. Now, is it a stretch to imagine that cult-like secret societies could exist that could possibly influence the political sphere? Now, I think ultimately that's probably what we're looking at. Is there or could there be a non-human intelligence capable of interjecting itself into appropriate vehicles? I say appropriate vehicles because there's no reason to believe that politics is the sole manifestation of this evil. Why not banking? Why not organized religion? Why not entertainment? If you don't know the game, you're still a part of it and you can be played. Just because we don't recognize the weapons of this spiritual war, we don't realize what form they can manifest themselves as, doesn't mean the threat isn't real. Stay on guard out there and check back frequently.